It's over. We lost. We're not getting anything involving the Jeffrey Epstein debacle. I'm going to get into everything right here in just a second, but before I do, go ahead and leave a comment, drop a like, drop a follow on whatever platform that you're watching this on. It takes just a second. It really helps me out putting food on the table and whatnot. So anyways, we'll go ahead and get into it here. So from The Guardian, Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide, Justice Department and FBI review confirms. A review of files held by the U.S. government on the financier Jeffrey Epstein has said that there is no secret client list to be released and confirmed his August 2019 death a suicide while in federal custody, both of which contradict conspiracy theories. So when they say that there is no secret client list, I'm going to go ahead and take that to mean is, one, either they have it and they're not going to give it to you, or they just don't have a physical list. Because clearly there were clients for Jeffrey Epstein. He had this humongous sex island for that where he prostituted children to people of influence, people of power, people of money. Full stop. There was a client list. They just either they have one and they're not going to give it to you, or they don't have a physical one in evidence. I think it's silly to say that whether there is a physical list or not, it does not mean that there was not a group of people that were going to the Epstein Island that Jeffrey Epstein or people who worked for him knew of as regular customers. There were people that went there. You just don't have a list. A memo said that a Department of Justice and an FBI review of the files, which has for years been teased as a treasure trove of information about a larger network of wrongdoing, concluded that no further charges are expected as investigators, quote, did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. So let me translate that for all of you. This is them telling you, screw off, drop it. We're not charging anyone. We're not going to give you any more evidence. Let it go. It's over. It's done. Now, this is a direct contradiction for the Attorney General Pam Bondi, who I wasn't on board with for day one. I thought Matt Gaetz was by far the best candidate that we could have ever possibly hoped for Attorney General. I feel like that was Trump's big ask to get all of the other people in, like RFK Jr. as Secretary of Health and Human Services, like Tulsi Gabbard, Director of Intelligence. You know, these are all fantastic people, but I think with Trump asking for Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, that kind of shadows the RFK and the Tulsi Gabbard. Suddenly those people aren't as extreme because, oh wow, look at the extreme person that he's picked to run for Attorney General. By the way, when I say extreme, I think, you know, all these people, Matt Gaetz, RFK, these are phenomenal people to be put into power. But I think that Matt Gaetz was a particularly shocking choice for a candidate, considering how many feathers he ruffled while his time in the House of Representatives. But I think Pam Bondi was definitely the wrong choice when the Matt Gaetz situation fell apart. Going back to the contradiction, you know, it was only a couple months ago that she was saying, I have, you know, with one of her many Fox News interviews that she does, we have the Jeffrey Epstein client list. It's on my desk. That was her words. It was in a quote, and I'll show you a video of that here in just a second. Now her DOJ is saying that it never existed. So no matter which way you want to cut it, you were lied to. You were either lied to that she had a client list on her desk, or you're being lied to now saying that it never existed in the first place. And I'll go ahead and I'll pull up a video of that right now. Let's see. Here we go.
DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen? It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all.
The files are on my desk. And what do we have here? We have the memo from the DOJ. As part of our commitment to transparency, the Department of Justice and the FBI have conducted we just read this. We read this on The Guardian. So this is them just saying, we don't have a client list, and that's it. Again, they're telling you to screw off, shut up, you're not getting anything more. So again, we went from it's on my desk to now they've never existed. So one way or another, we were lied to by the administration. This is in my opinion, this is a national disgrace and a huge L for the Trump administration. I don't know what you can do. I mean, you pretty much have to stick with Pam Bondi. You can't, if you were to impeach her or go through whatever process, you can't get rid of her and try and pick someone new. First of all, the Senate won't confirm anyone that we would probably like. I think Pam Bondi is the best we're going to get. But it really is just a shame of how much of a failure that she's been. But I think at the very least, the thing that she has going for her is she was never the spearhead figure saying that, once Trump gets reelected, you're going to have the Epstein client lists. That was never her MO. The same cannot be said for these two right here, Mr. Dan Bongino and Mr. Kash Patel, director and deputy director of the FBI. These two, I have a lot to say on these two. They basically, it's the same thing with Pam Bondi, where they say one thing and then it's a complete and utter retraction of everything that they said. So let's focus on Dan Bongino first, because this guy has turned out to be a major disappointment. I'll just let the video run and you can see what I'm talking about for yourself.
Listen, that Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal. Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this. Catherine Rumler, we need to keep the heat on this case, folks. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there that Epstein may have had video and audio of people out there doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And you should be asking yourself the question, how is it that all these people, the CIA director, the Obama fixer, Bill Clinton, all intersected paths with Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein isn't with us anymore, and nobody seems to want to talk about it outside of a few entrepreneurial media outlets saying, hey, this is a big deal.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
So he goes from the biggest tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, not to discredit what he's saying because I believe everything that he says in the first video. But he goes from the biggest, the deep state is lying to you. Everyone in the current administration should be ashamed of themselves. And then the moment that he gets put in as deputy director, well, I saw the files. He killed himself. That's it. That's not good enough, brother. You went on your Rumble show consistently talking about this issue. I mean, the fervent, dedication to this topic. Like, look how passionate he is in this.
That Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this.
Don't let your story go. He's so passionate, and then to discredit years of what you've been talking about, years of what you made your money on, being a co-owner of Rumble and having the biggest Rumble audience, and at certain times having the biggest live stream political show in the world, to simply discredit all of that with a throwaway line.
You want me to? I've seen the whole file.
He killed himself. I've seen the file, and not elaborate on that further. That's disappointing. And I think there can only be two scenarios as to why that is. One is he gets in there and there actually isn't any evidence to suggest that he killed himself. I don't think that's likely. The other one is that he gets brought into a room with a bunch of dudes in black suits, and they show him a picture of his kids, and then they say, keep quiet. You know, kind of hard to go against the grain on that one. However, I'm a very cruel and heartless person. I don't think that excuses you from the title of being a coward. The founding fathers, they were 18, 19, 20-year-olds who had wives, they had children. They all, whenever they signed their names to the Declaration of Independence, they all expected to be hanged for what was said. They didn't expect to live. And they expected their children, their immediate family, to also be killed alongside them. So at a certain, I know it's really hard to say, but at a certain point, you're called upon by, you can call it God, you can call it whatever you want it to, good and evil. You're called upon by goodness to do the right thing at the expense of yourself and potentially even your family. Again, I understand how insane that might sound to some people. The founding fathers did it. We have lost that idealism in our current generation. I think it's sad. So I don't withhold from calling him a coward for being as passionate as he was and then going to what we have now. And the same thing can also be said for the director of the FBI, Kash Patel. A lot of people will go around and say like, oh, well, he wasn't saying, this from the beginning. He was a very, he was kind of very modest guy, saying, well, I don't think so. I just found this video with him and Betty Johnson, and I want you to hear what he had to say about it while Trump was running for office. So these are the kind of words that he would say when people are running for office. Let's listen.
It's the same thing with Epstein's list. It's like, what the hell are these Republicans doing? Oh,
I saw you
give out the list.
I saw you make news this morning about that. I got to get to that.
Yeah.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Great question.
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying
the list that doesn't exist, by the way,
Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list? And why is it that the Senate, and good for Senator Blackburn to try to get it out, but then Dick Durbin comes over the top and says, no, we're not going to release the names. I don't care about the list itself, but if release the names, right? What the hell are the House Republicans doing? They have the majority. You can't get the list? You're going to accept Dick Durbin's word, or whoever that guy is, as to who is on that?
Well, now we don't just have the House of Representatives. We also have the Senate. We have the executive branch, the judiciary. And suddenly, now that we have all of the reins of power, we still get nothing. I feel like we have less than we did before.
That list and who isn't, and that it can and can't be released. Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are. We have an election coming up, and we need to adjudicate this matter at the polls. God knows the FBI and DOJ aren't going to do anything.
Put on your big boy pants and give us the list. We went from that to this.
Predecessors stated to Congress under oath that there were no FBI sources utilized in and around January 6th. I'm going to leave it at that, but go play the videotape and look for this material coming to Congress.
Right here.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide.
Everyone's talking about the pink salt trick that melts fat while you sleep.
Ads.
But does it actually work? Watch and see.
Sorry about that.
People don't believe it.
Well,
Let's rewind.
Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what...
I really, really hate this argument. Let's listen to that again.
As a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan...
As a public defender, as someone who's been in the prison system, as someone who's done this, done that, been everywhere all around town, this is what we call a point of authority argument, and it's basically saying you can't have an opinion on this because you're not in my realm. It's no different than when the left tries to come up to you and say like, oh, we need reparations for black people. You wouldn't understand as a white person. Just trust me as a black person that we need it's the same sort of ridiculous argument that anytime someone tries to make this argument, you should just discount it immediately.
Detention center, who's been in segregated housing. You know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work.
This is just embarrassing. You had all these people, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Trump himself even, making the promise that if you elect me, you'll get the Epstein files. I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what they said. This is the weakest form of cowardice that I have no words. I think these two should be really embarrassed. My personal belief is that Men in Black basically told them that you need to keep quiet about this, otherwise we're going to hurt you or your family. Because I don't believe that they have. I would imagine that they have that it's possible that they don't have any actual physical evidence that is actually useful. Because we had 4 years of the Biden administration who was really corrupt, and a couple of years under the Trump administration. Because remember, Jeffrey Epstein died under the Trump administration, but I would argue that the first Trump administration was largely made up of rhinos and people who were antithetical to Trump's agenda. So we have basically 6 years of people. They had 6 years of time to get rid of anything that they needed to get rid of. So it's probably true that they don't have any incriminating evidence. Now, whether or not they could find some more or, start putting two and two together and actually doing real investigations, I don't think that they'll let them because, again, this is my personal opinion. I think these two are compromised. Pam Bondi, I don't think she's able to be compromised because that's just her de facto start, right? I don't think that she was ever in it for the people. She's turned out to be a major disappointment. These two have turned out to be a major disappointment. So what's the takeaway from this? Well, the takeaway is, again, you're not getting any evidence regarding the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. The Trump administration has basically told you that it's done and over with. Stop asking. So where do we go from there? Well, first off, don't stop asking. Continue to ask questions. Continue to make posts on social media. Continue to make demands that we need some form of accountability. This is the biggest L of the Trump administration. A lot of people might say that the bombing of Iran is. I think that's only because that's relevant on our minds. That just happened a couple weeks ago. I think that's going to turn out to be basically, so long as we don't get dragged into a war, that's going to turn out to actually be a Trump W. He got rid of the Iranian nuclear program, and he did it in a way that didn't cost Americans lives. He did it in a way that didn't get us dragged into another war in the Middle East. I think that's a big nothing burger. Signalgate was a big nothing burger. This is by far the biggest L of the Trump administration, and we need to be able to call that out. If you're a Trump supporter, if you're a MAGA guy, you have to be able to call this out, because guess what? The Democrats are going to be all over this. Go on Twitter tonight. Go look up some leftist YouTube commentators. I guarantee you they're going to be showing the video of Trump talking with Epstein at that party like 20 years ago. And they're going to be saying, look, he was clearly, intertwined with Epstein to some level, and he won't release it because he was involved with Jeffrey Epstein. And you know what? They may be correct on that front. 100%. Whether or not that's the case, we need to call Trump out on this, but I don't think it needs to be all doom and gloom. As a Gen Z person, Trump is by far the best president I've ever had in my life, even if he is compromised by Epstein Island. The mass deportations of illegal immigrants are amazing. The appointment of RFK as the Health and Human Services has caused major ramifications in the food industry. revoking, the ability to put these horrible chemicals in our food, the upcoming investigations on whether or not, childhood vaccines are leading to the mass wave of early onset child autism. All of these are great things being done by the Trump administration. And while this is a major L, we can still recognize that the administration is still doing good, but we do need to call out the L's when we see them. So that's all for now. If you like what you saw, again, please drop a like, drop a follow on whatever platform that you're watching this, and I will be back again soon. Thank you.